Days of fun, food, friendship, and live music. More than a dozen spectacular hunting and fishing trips, including a 10-day African safari, Serbian and Belize excursions, hunts from Alaska to Wyoming, all available to bid on. Go to UnitedDeerFarmersOfMichigan.com to register today.
Laugh till it hurts at the Traverse City Comedy Club. National and regional comedians bringing the laughs every Friday and Saturday. Add in something delicious from their hearty menu, a specialty drink, or your favorite brew, and you've got a great change to your old routine. See the season schedule and buy tickets at TraverseCityComedyClub.com or rent the club for your private event for up to 150 people. Traverse City Comedy Club on Garfield Avenue, where Northern Michigan goes for fun.
It's time for the Northern Michigan High School Sports Scoreboard Show on Up North Sports Radio with your host, Rich Calkins.
It is time. Show presented by the Bill Marsh Auto Group on Up North Sports Radio. Gary Coyne in studio with you. And last night,
your call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach...
all of them with the ladies' districts being decided, JC, and certainly a whole lot of Northern Michigan flavor going on there with championships throughout the North.
Well, I think that's obvious since they all played each other.
Yeah.
It's not like what's happening with the regionals where, they're all over the place. And we've got a lot of action both on the boys and the girls side, Rich.
Yeah, we certainly do, JC. And some of the other things going on as well. Obviously, today we're going to have 4 different coaches with you. Head coach Pat Schultz of Gaylord St. Mary's, as they won another district crown last night. Also, we're going to have Bruce Coltman on, the McBain coach, as their team goes to the quarterfinals. They won a number of regional finals, and they won one again this past week. And they're going to take on the Menominee Maroons next week, and hoping that they can get back to the Breslin Center and win another state championship. We're also going to have head coach of Cadillac, Ryan Benzenberg, and then as his team lost in the regional finals to a very good Muskegon team, and then Doug Ballman as well, head coach of Traverse City West, as they lost to that Cadillac team in the regional semifinals, and man, what a game that was. But also, let me just go over just a few of those scores from last night that took place. Traverse City Central ladies won their first district crown since 2006. So congratulations. Jakaya Brumfeld is a girl that's just a junior. She's been their team started as a freshman and really starting to pay. Also, there are some other news around the north as well. Lynn from Harbor, they got a district championship as she continues to 1,000 points. And she has just had an incredible career, just a junior. She's got one more year there, so congratulations to them.
Rich, your list is no good.
Yeah.
It looks like all our coaches slept in a little bit today.
Yeah, so again, it will get better for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But no, there's all kinds of other things going on as well. As in hockey, JC, the Bay Area Reps did fall last night as they got beat by East Grand Rapids in the semifinals.
Yeah, nice showing for them.
Yeah, what a great season. No question about that. So.
Well, why don't you run down the scores, Rich? I know you did a couple of them at the top. It was a nice win for Gaylord St. Mary's, and we will have Coach Pat Schultz on in a little bit.
There was a real good low-scoring affair, Petoskey versus Kingsley, and Petoskey won a district crown 31-27. Also, Harbor Springs, I mentioned that, they won 47-39 over Western UP power Bark River Harris. Elk Rapids and Charlevoix met for the third time in this year, with Elk Rapids dominating that one 68-28. Hey, how about Roscommon?
How about Roscommon?
How about it? They beat Oscoda 49-46. And so both the boys and girls team won district crowns this year.
That's always a good thing.
That is, yeah, very cool. Very happy for them, for the Roscommon Bucks. Lake City, we expected them to win, and they did. They beat Everett, a team that they split with during the regular season, but Lake City dominated 47-30. Also going through some other scores. In the eastern part of the UP, it was Munising over Newberry, 47-40. St. Ignace, they continue to roll as they dominated Mackinac City, 74-33. Inland Lakes over Onaway, 46-33, or 38 that is. And another Glen Lake, they won a district crown, 68-42 over 6th ranked Lake Leelanau St. Mary. So good win for the Lady Lakers. Mile, that's a team that Gaylord St. Mary's is going to match up with in the regionals, to begin the regionals next week in the girls basketball.
Morning.
Coach, how are you?
Not bad. How are you?
Good. You are on the air, so keep the curse words to a minimum, please.
Got it.
We're joined now on the Bill Marsh High School Automotive Scoreboard Show by Coach Ryan Benzenberg of the Cadillac Vikings. Coach, tell us a little bit about the game versus Muskegon.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity. Well, we did a lot of really, really good things in that game. Unfortunately for us, we didn't do enough of those good things to come out on top. And, you know, if you would have told me going into the game that we were going to hold a team that averages 65 points to 40, we would hold their best player to 8 points, we'd out-rebound them.
Wow.
And have 13 turnovers, I think we would have a really, really good chance to upset them. And we just couldn't find a way to put the ball in the hoop enough. So obviously it's disappointing to end our season, you know, a few steps short of our ultimate goal. But having a couple days to reflect now we'll live with the results of that. We did a lot of really good things, not only in that game in the season. And this particular chapter of Cadillac basketball is going to be a really good one.
Yeah, that's for sure, Coach. And, you know, you came at the short end of that 40-28 score, and I listened to the whole thing streaming on the radio or on my computer, Coach. And it was one of those games where you had really two teams that really defensively want to lock it down. And like you said, you did a great job in holding them to 40, but just unfortunately the offense just wasn't going that night.
Yeah, I don't think no matter what you try to do in practice or how much you try to schedule up, you can't give our kids an idea on just how quick and physical the on-ball defense was by Muskegon. Coach Guy is such a good coach, and I have so much respect for him. And they just guarded our ball. Anyone not named Charlie Howell for us really struggled to get anything going offensively. And you know, Charlie had 18 points, and I've never seen a kid work harder for those 18 points that he had. And we just struggled to put the ball in the hoop. We just were not ready. I don't want to say we weren't ready. We weren't anticipating it being as physical as the game was, and our kids struggled with that.
Coach, you know, actually, I thought that the Traverse City West game was a physical game before that. So, not having seen the game against Muskegon, if it was more physical than that, we're back to bad boy basketball.
Yeah, you know, I will go back a game, and I want to give Coach Bauman and his team a lot of credit. I knew, and no matter what we said to our kids, I knew going into that regional semi it was going to be a different deal than it was the first two times we played them. Mm-hmm. You can't understand when kids have urgency when they know that the light at the end of their tunnel is it's big. It's bigger than it was 2 months ago, and their backs are against the wall. They played really, really good, and we did not play great that game, and I think a lot of that had to do with Traverse City West, and we did enough to get the win in advance, and overall, to get to a regional final our first year in D1 and play, you know, a team of the caliber of Muskegon High, and we had some chances. We had the ball twice down 7 in the fourth quarter with a chance to get it to 5 or 4, and just couldn't figure out a way to get it close. I really, really thought if we could somehow stick around with 3 minutes to go, be within striking distance,
Right.
we'd have a puncher's chance, and we just couldn't get there.
And Ryan, you end the year at 23-3, and you have most of your team coming back. Unfortunately, the one person you do lose is 6'6" senior Charlie Howell, and he's meant a lot to your program.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me. We've had Charlie since his freshman year up on varsity, and
Right.
he's been in our program for a long time. And it was, it wasn't too long ago. We call them all of our young kids little Vikes, and he was a little Vike not too long ago. And to see him leave, he'll be a top 7 scorer all time in our program. And if you know anything about our program, we've had a handful of Division I basketball players come through in the last 20, 25 years. So really, really good career. And I've told every single person that I've talked to, as good a player he was on the basketball court, he's a stand-up kid off the court. He's a 4.0 student, great ambassador to our program. Our little Vikes love him. He loves them, and it's just going to be a big loss for us. But we'll take some time to decompress a little bit and take a little bit of time off. We're going to support Charlie wherever it is he ends up. Somebody's going to get a really darn good basketball player. And we'll regroup, and we'll be back and hopefully be stronger for having went through it.
Coach, we were talking to James Cook yesterday, and all of us, we're very familiar with your program, and we want to thank you for coming on the program so often. But it's hard for us not to think, well, if they had stayed in D2 this year, what was the ceiling for your team? Has that kicked around in your head at all, or are you just like, hey, you know what, we're in D1, that's what we got to do, and we got to play our opponent, that's the way it goes?
I'd be lying to you if I didn't think we as a group have thought about it. I think it's human nature to think about that, Not that Kingsford or Ludington were not great opponents. We beat Kingsford in the regional final last year in Division II, and I knew they had a bunch coming back. So I knew that they'd be there as well, but a lot of if woulda, couldas, but we're not going to cry over spilled milk. I will say that. We were the big fish in a small pond for many years. We were at the top end of Division II for a lot of years, and this year, I don't know if I told you in the past, we were Division I by 7 students.
Right.
The cutoff for Division I was 853 kids, and we enrolled 860. So really, really small fish in a big pond in Division I. You're talking about schools from 854 kids to 3,000, and that's a really big thing to have to overcome. But we're not going to cry about it. We did our very, very best. I think this basketball team reached their ceiling, and when our season ended, we always said all along we wanted it to lose. We wanted it to end because we lost to a team that was better than us, and there's no shame in saying that. Muskegon is a better basketball team than us, so we did our absolute best and was just a little bit short.
Yeah, there's no doubt, Coach. There's no shame at all losing to a tradition-rich program like Muskegon, as they have produced a number of state championships, a number of Division I athletes, and guys that have went on to play professionally. Now, Coach, your summer program, I know you probably haven't even thought about that yet, but maybe you have. What do you like to do in the summer to get your team to the point where it's the off season, but yet you want to see certain things throughout the summer?
Yeah, so it's very interesting. We'll dive right back into it. We'll get to spring break. We'll enjoy some time away. My family and I are excited about getting away. We're going to take a cruise in a couple weeks. When we get back, we call it our Little Vikes training sessions. We'll have a couple nights a week where we get our young kids in the gym and just work on skill for those non-spring sport folks in high school. And there'll be a couple of them. We'll get in the gym and do some individual workouts. And then June, we'll play anywhere between 35 and 40 games in June, trying to get out and schedule tough. And we'll go to the Grand Valleys, the Ferrises, the Saginaw Valleys, those college team camps, and try to challenge ourselves against teams that we typically don't get a chance to see in the off season. So next year, if we're fortunate enough to make another run and we're playing against a team that is high as caliber as Muskegon, we will have tried to do everything in our power to put ourselves in a position to be successful. And after that June session, football will ramp up in Cadillac. We have a ton of multi-sport athletes, and I'm a proponent of it. I support it. I want our kids to experience all those sports. But we'll find some time to get to the gym and get on the gun and get shots up, and we'll do our best to improve, and that's kind of the goal. If you come in next November the same as you are now, we're not going to be any better. So our kids know that, and they'll put the work in.
Coach, do you know if you guys are for sure D1 next year, or is there a possibility to slide back down to Division II?
I don't want to start rumors, but there's some pretty strong indications that we might actually slip back down to D2 next year.
Uh-huh.
Our incoming freshman class is significantly smaller than our outgoing senior class.
Okay.
And the counts have already been done. So the state of Michigan does that third Friday count. I think it happened about a month ago, and
Okay.
that's the enrollment that they will use for next year. All we're really waiting on now is to see what the numbers are. Is the number still going to stay at 853 for what the Division I cutoff is? And if that's the case, we will be Division II. But it seems like year after year that lowers a little bit. So we'll wait and see. Guys, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the MHSAA is also throwing around the idea of creating a fifth division in boys and girls basketball, and as well as volleyball. And I believe that is getting voted on in the next couple of weeks here, and that would obviously change the landscape significantly if they did decide or vote on to add a fifth division.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
James Cook brought that up to us yesterday, and
that would be amazing.
Yeah, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Is another like, well, damn. But why didn't they make that vote last year? So
you're definitely then, but playing teams more along your enrollment than by throwing another division in there.
Yeah, I think it would clean it up a little bit, to be honest with you guys. And right, wrong, or indifferent, I think. Even when we were making our runs, we're playing teams that are literally half the size of us. We're 800 kids; they're 400 kids. And
right.
I don't know if that's the right thing or fair. I mean, and again, this year we played whoever the state told us we had to play, and unfortunately for us, it was a really good Muskegon team, and we bowed out. But something to try to level the playing field, I would totally be for, regardless if that improves our chances or deproves them. I want it to be as level as possible for everybody.
There's some serious teams, Coach, that made it through the regionals in Class A that are now going to play in the quarterfinals. Have you looked at the bracket now?
Oh yeah, yes. I'm a nerd, so I pay attention to all that stuff. And I was going to bring it up to you. There's going to be a big ball basketball game at Callahan on Monday, isn't there?
You think?
They better have. They'll be standing room only. I'm pretty sure, but that'll be a big boy basketball game. I can tell you that.
Big ball basketball game. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, Brother Rice playing Orchard Lake St. Mary's for the fourth time. So that's always interesting. That happened to me once in my career. We played Catholic Central 4 times, including the state semifinal game. So that gets to be worse than playing your brother in the driveway.
Yeah, exactly. When I think about, there's the teams that are left standing, in my opinion, the East Lansings, the Brother Rices, the St. Mary's, the Muskegans, that's a different level of Division I basketball. Even when we played Muskegon the other night, when you're playing and you're watching, and we were hanging on for dear life at times because it's just a different level of basketball. They're just so much deeper and faster and stronger, and it is going to be really interesting now that I have a little bit of taste of Division I to kind of follow it a little more than I even would typically.
Yeah, I would suggest to you, if at all possible, taking your kids down to Cecilia for a few days. It's a huge change of you don't even know what kind of basketball can be played until you get into a gym like that, under a little bit less structure. You just see the talent and the speed, and that did us good. That's when St. Cecilia first started, was in the mid-'70s, and George Gervin was in there, and
the walls I've seen there at St. Cecilia.
Crazy. I had to guard George Gervin is a 16-year-old. And it lights you
That'll
up.
make you learn a lot about yourself real quick,
in
won't
a
it?
big hurry. Thank God he was as skinny as I was. But, it's just You can do that. There's teams that come down from all over the place, and it's just the greatest thing in the world. I still think about it almost every day. So.
Yeah, that would be quite an experience, and you're right. If those walls could talk over the last 40-some years and tell some of the stories and some of the stuff that went on there, us basketball junkies like us would love to sit down and listen to them, wouldn't we?
Yeah, that's for sure.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, Ryan Benzenberg, head coach of Cadillac, thanks for all your contributions to high school basketball. Thanks for joining us each and most every single week. You've got a great program going there, and can't wait to see you again next year on the sidelines.
Guys, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys thinking of me and interested in what I have to say, and all that you guys do for Northern Michigan high school sports, particularly boys basketball. We're super appreciative, and I'll do anything I can to help you guys out anytime.
All right.
Appreciate that very much, Coach. Have a great cruise.
Yeah.
And enjoy the streaming of the games. Luckily, the rest of the games, I believe, will be on MHSAA, so I'll be able to tune in.
I'll be watching, guys. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day.
Okay,
all right.
Thanks. You too. Ryan Benzenberg of the Cadillac Vikings, just a great ambassador for high school basketball.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy all my conversations with him, whether they're on or off air. And I appreciate the fact that he knows a little bit about, he wasn't even alive when I was playing basketball. So that's just.
But he knows the history, though.
Yeah, it's a little sick.
Yeah. So, no.
When he said he's a basketball nerd, he's a freaking basketball nerd. Well, we were just referring to very quickly, folks. I always have an eye on Brother Ice basketball. They're ranked, I think, like 11th in the state. Orchard Lake St. Mary's number 1. The number 2 team, Cass Tech, was bounced out of the tournament. They didn't even win a district title,
right?
Which is what happened to my Warriors last year.
Right, a team that came up north to St. Francis at the showcase.
Defending state champions don't even make it out of their own district. That's the intensity of a D1 basketball that Coach is talking about.
Yeah.
There's just a ton of talented kids that are playing a ton of national camps, and it is a different level of basketball.
And it's literally, if you don't come to play every single game, I know it's a cliche, but it's true, they'll run you out of the building.
Oh, God.
I mean, if you have an off night where you're mentally not into it, you're half a step slow or whatever, it'll be blowout city.
You're talking about coaches that, are being grabbed at for collegiate positions and everything else, and kids that don't even start, like myself, that didn't even start on their teams, have the opportunity to play D1 basketball. It's a totally different level, and you can go to MHSAA.com. Those games start on Tuesday, I believe. Yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that will. All right, we'll have another coach here next.
Coach Pat Schultz.
All right, Pat Schultz of the Gaylord St. Mary's Snowbirds as they won last night. You're listening to the Northern Michigan Scoreboard Show presented by the Bill Marsh Auto Group on Up North Sports Radio.
Hi, this is Bill Marsh Jr. Introducing the new eMarsh Custom Purchase Experience at BillMarsh.com. eMarsh makes car buying fast and easy. Choose your vehicle and options, get an accurate trade-in value, calculate your monthly payment choices, and apply for credit. You can even schedule at-home or at-work test drives and deliveries. Start your eMarsh experience at BillMarsh.com. eMarsh. Welcome to easy. And thank you.
Are you planning a graduation party or other fun event? Two places in Gaylord are where fun and great food happen every day. The Party Patio at the Alpine Tavern and Eatery and the Alley at Crave are the perfect places to celebrate, with outstanding food that makes your mouth sing and a lively atmosphere. This is where family and friends come for a great time. Your home for Up North flavor is also the home to celebrate. Alpine Tavern and Crave in downtown Gaylord.
There's a new player in town. Hi, I'm Herman Moore, Lions All-Pro wide receiver, and I'm talking about Eagle Casino and Sports, the real money mobile casino. It's so easy to play. You can go from wager to winner to wallet, just like that.
Sign up now and we'll match your deposit up to $1,500. Or you can get a risk-free bet up to $1,000.
Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
Must be 21 or older in Michigan to play.
Welcome back to the Northern Michigan Scoreboard Show, presented by the Bill Marsh Auto Group on Up North Sports Radio. Rich Calkins and Jerry Coyne in studio with you. And joining us now is the head coach of the Ladies Snowbirds from Gaylord St. Mary's, and that's Pat Schultz. And Pat, congratulations on another district crown as you guys beat Bel Air last night 41-25.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was, closer than we would have liked it to have been, but again, we're a pretty young crew, and you just don't know what you're going to get sometimes. But they did what they had to do, and we squeaked her out.
Yeah, well, Coach, that's a team that got the best of you in mid-December, and you guys, we all know from mid-December to almost mid-March now, teams change, and obviously you guys got some revenge at the most important time.
Right. Yeah. When we played them the first time around, we had them at home, and we just, they played better. We didn't, and then we kind of got them pretty good the second time around at their place, and so that third time was going to be a lot more pressure involved for this young crew. Obviously, in a district game in the final, so we started out a little bit slow, but to our credit, the girls kind of did what they had to do to get back in the game, and then kind of hold the lead when things started to slow down offensively for us. We did just enough to kind of keep it going. So, yeah, it worked out.
Coach, what do you know about Mayo?
They have a pretty good record. They have probably the leading scorer in Michigan, I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't look at stats a whole lot, but I know she's averaging 30 or 40 points a game.
40 points.
Yeah, she's averaging a ton. She is a good ball player, good, big, strong kid. So it's going to be, we just got out of practice right now, and actually just came from, we went to a funeral service for a super fan that we unfortunately lost, Stan Spitalski. The whole team went over and took the district trophy to the viewing so that they could have it there. But he was a great fan of ours, so he'll be dearly missed. But it's going to be a good game on Monday. We are just going to try to do what we do. I'm not big into, obviously, to maybe our detriment, not big into making a bunch of major adjustments. We're so young, and if you throw too much at these kids, you kind of get that deer in the headlights look. So if we can just be the best version of ourselves, employ our full court press, employ good sound half court defense, stay in gaps, we're going to have to be really gap sound against her, because she gets downhill, and probably at least half her points come from the free throw line, if not more. So, to play a good sound half-court defense is going to be important for us, and to, keep the ball flowing in the full court will be important as well. So, if the shots are falling, we'll be fine. If they're not, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, and Coach, you're referencing the McGregor girl. Her dad is Ty McGregor, and her mom was a Whaley. They were both all-state players in Michigan here.
Mm-hmm.
And his dad coached at Kirtland for a long time, played in Europe for a year professionally.
Wow. Okay.
So that's this girl's just a freshman. So.
Oh, jeez.
Oh yeah, she comes by all this naturally.
Yes.
Yeah, she has parents that are were good basketball players. So
that's scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it is. We'll just see what we can do.
But I think, Coach, the good thing about you guys are a true team. You know what I mean? You guys can spread the ball, move it around. You don't necessarily rely on one person to do all your scoring, and so that's a big difference.
Right. If you got that one kid, that's great, and you can do it. I've been doing this for whatever it is, 17 years. I've never been fortunate enough to have that kid.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I think, like I've told you guys before when we talked, if we are just playing an average, normal, good game for us, if our shots are falling at an average pace, we can play with absolutely anybody, as we've shown, a couple of games that we've had this year, and in the summertime when we play up quite a bit, we can play with anyone when things are right. The girls have just got to kind of, with a young crew, you just kind of, it's like a box of chocolates there. You never know what you're going to get. So sometimes it's great, sometimes it's absolutely great, and then sometimes, we don't meet the moment the way we should. So we'll see what happens.
Well, they don't know what they don't know. So
you're right.
Yeah. The only thing they do know is, they walk down the hallways at St. Mary's, and there's a hell of a lot of girls' district trophies there. So, and Coach, that's, partly your job is to, and I know you've done a great job, is continuing the tradition of really good ball playing, especially on the ladies' side at St. Mary's. I got a question for you. I was watching Caitlin Clark last night, and the Juju Watkins girls. It's a fantastic time to be coaching girls in basketball, don't you think?
There's probably, at least in my short span of life, there's probably never been a better time to be coaching or be involved in women's basketball. It is getting a lot of the recognition that I think it deserves. I can only speak for my team that I coach, but I would put the work ethic of my kids up against any team, any gender. Our girls work. Now, it might not appear like that sometimes. It might get a little sloppy, but our girls, put in an extreme amount of effort, as I'm sure a lot of other women's teams do, but they just don't get the glow a lot of times that the boys or the men's teams do.
Yeah.
And I think it's fantastic. And what Caitlin's done, and a few other women, like you mentioned, bringing that light to women's basketball, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, Coach, I think it just seems so much more relatable. You know what I mean, with the girls' game and the girls seeing different role models, whether it's the Reese girl from LSU or Caitlin Clark from Iowa or whatever the case may be. It's just like girls can identify with that now. If I just keep working on my game, I can be that person, and it takes a lot of work.
100%.
But it's great role models.
I think I might be speaking out of school here, but I would doubt prior to maybe the last 2 years if any of the girls on my team, there might have been one, had watched any college women's basketball. But I would say there's probably not a kid on the team now that hasn't, or at least isn't really aware or seen video or Instagram or whatever, kids TikTok and whatever video clips that they can see of what she's doing. Like you said, what Angel Reese is doing, Georgia Amore out of Virginia Tech. There's
Paige
so
Beckers.
many skilled players. Yeah, there's so many skilled players now that are getting some shine that is very, very well deserved.
Well, the best thing is that Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, the Juju Watkins girl out of USC, who's a freshman. They're not overwhelming physically. It's not like when I grew up and I was playing against Magic Johnson. I mean, you saw Magic Johnson play, like, holy God, what am I going to do there? These girls are look like the girls that you're coaching. And so it's easy to say hard work, more time in the gym. You can do this. And, it is relatable. It is. They can go ahead and absorb that and go, yeah, I see that.
I think just the word you use, relatable, is so accurate because, I mean, like in the men's game, so much of it is played above the rim now because there's so much athleticism. And when you look at some of the high school games around here, and it just doesn't appear to be the same. But when you watch a college game, obviously I'm not comparing us to them or any of the games that you see, but I mean, a lot of the actions look the same. We're trying to do the same things. So I think the word you use, relatable, is so accurate. And all of this interest in women's basketball just is as a women's basketball coach in high school, and all the other high school girls coaches should be happy because this might actually get the ball in some kids' hands in the off season where, just to be quite honest, even though we have a really strong program and we've had for years, you don't have a lot of kids that have the ball in their hands in the off season. But now, like you said, with some role models and just seeing what's possible, those girls obviously have a God-given talent that not a lot of people have, but just to see what's possible out there might get the ball in some hands in the off season that it wouldn't have before, and that just benefits the programs and the coaches and the other players on the teams.
Absolutely. The more shots you throw up, the better you get at throwing it in.
Yeah.
So
100%. 100%. Yeah.
And Coach, that's what I love about the girls' game is it seems like they just rely so much more on the fundamentals of basketball, and it takes you back in time a little bit. And it just, I just absolutely love it.
Yeah, like again, kind of going back, the boys, some of the boys that I've seen, some of the good ones there's so much athleticism, and sometimes they lean into that athleticism a little too much and get a little out of control. Where, like you said, I think, you get it when you watch a good, sound women's basketball team, and men's for that matter, but a good, sound women's basketball team, they're playing within themselves, just like you said, call it fundamental, call it whatever you want, but they're not trying to leave from the free throw line to dunk it. We're trying to do some things, move the ball, get an open look, one pass to get even better look. Kind of some of those things that a coach really likes to see.
Right. Now, Pat Schultz of the Gaylord St. Mary's Lady Snowbirds, congratulations on another district crown. Thanks for joining us, and best of luck next week in regionals against Smile.
I appreciate it very much. You guys do a great job. I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank
Best
you.
of luck. Go Snowbirds.
Thanks a lot, man.
Pat Schultz of Gaylord St. Mary's.
Yeah, good guy. You know, they like that St. Mary's program. Even when your girls were playing, that was one of the crown jewels of gals basketball. And the thing is the one problem that coach is going to have is that their girls play everything else. So they're volleyball players and everything else.
Sure.
They don't get it's just on to the next sport. On to softball.
Yeah,
You know, it's not like I'm going to basketball camp and I'm on the softball team.
That's exactly right. Yeah, because they need to play all those sports in a school.
It's super funny, Rich. I wanted to ask that question because I was at Ray's yesterday, and there was actually these two older guys. I wanted to change the big TV there to the golf tournament, and they're like, no, we're going to watch Iowa play. I'm like, Iowa girls basketball? I mean, yeah, Kaylin Clark, okay. They're like, yeah. So I'm watching the game, and I've seen her play before. But what Coach said is absolutely true. The difference between men's basketball and ladies basketball is there's not very many girls that can get off the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see it.
Right.
And the athleticism now, when we were talking yesterday, when you saw the kid from the Timberwolves blocked that shot at the end of the game, hit his head on the rim. And then the dunk that Aaron Gordon made off the rebound. Girls just don't play the game in the air.
Yeah, exactly. It's not an above-the-rim game.
No, and the other thing that girls seem to lack athletically that the men do is their lateral movement, especially on defense, is nowhere near what those guys, so they got to pass the ball.
That's why I love the fundamentals of it. That's what makes it so much more relatable for people that had to play the game without a ton of great physical athleticism, but still wanted to enjoy the game of basketball.
Yeah, no
so
doubt.
You had to find your ways to be successful, and like you said, being able to make the extra pass, making a good bounce pass instead of a two-handed chest pass.
Getting over as fast as you can on help defense, and it makes it so hard. Like I was watching the Penn State girls just had so much trouble making their layups because the pressure defense that came down from the girls made it tough. And since you can't take one quick step and dunk the ball, which is what men's coaches love,
absolutely. You get above the get it. That's the 100% shooting.
Yeah, I like that kid because he could jump 26 inches off the floor, so you're right. I was thinking about this because I have all of these granddaughters now, and I'm like, I wish they were a little bit older. Like I'm hoping that this is the first wave that will grow the women's game, and there's every anticipation that will happen.
No,
but I would love it if my granddaughter Kaylin was 7. And watching this,
exactly,
instead of 4.
She'd have the memory
she'd
of Caitlin Clark and do. Yeah, I've watched 4 or 5 of her games this year. It just been.
No, she's very good, and she shot like crap yesterday, and they still blew Penn State out of the gym.
Yeah.
So she can, on top of being the leading scorer of all time, she really passes the ball very well.
She does, absolutely.
She's a strong passer of the ball.
And everyone always says, too, she's much taller than she appears. She's like 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
But again, she moves like she's 5'8".
Yeah.
And so that's her to have that, a little bit of height.
She doesn't look like a track star.
No, exactly.
So.
It's just very good basketball. All right, when we come back, we're going to have another coach.
Coach Doug Bauman.
All right, head coach Doug Bauman of Traverse City West. You're listening to the Northern Michigan Scoreboard Show, presented by the Bill Marsh Auto Group on Up North Sports Radio.
Hi, this is Bill Marsh Jr. Introducing the new eMarsh custom purchase experience at BillMarsh.com. eMarsh makes car buying fast and easy. Choose your vehicle and options, get an accurate trade-in value, calculate your monthly payment choices, and apply for credit. You can even schedule at-home or at-work test drives and deliveries. Start your eMarsh experience at BillMarsh.com. eMarsh. Welcome to easy. And thank you.
The Traverse City Record Eagle Simply the Best 2024 Reader's Choice Contest is now open. Nominate your favorite businesses, organizations, and professionals in Northern Michigan to earn them well-deserved recognition as Simply the Best. You can nominate once daily in each category now through Friday, May 10th. Our 2023 Simply the Best broke records with more than 14,500 nominations and more than 26,000 votes. Support your favorites and help them stand out above the rest. Nominate at record-eagle.com/simplythebest.
Ready or not, here comes spring and all the work that comes with it. So now's the perfect time to get a tough tractor that's ready for anything this season can throw at it. Right now, you can get 0% or save thousands on select models during the Mahindra Spring Sales Event. Go to MahindraUSA.com to see all our deals and to find a local family-owned dealer near you.
Visit your Mahindra dealer at Zaremba Equipment in Gaylord or online at zarembaequipment.com or Pioneer Diesel in Traverse City or pioneerdiesel.com.
Listen to your mouth. It just may be screaming for something from the smokehouse at Trouttown in Kalkaska. Like maybe the barbecue ribs, cherry and hickory smoked St. Louis style ribs that are slow roasted to perfection and covered in homemade barbecue sauce. Your mouth knows what it wants. And right now, it's screaming for ribs. Include some Redskins, a little cornbread, and an ice cold beer. Now your mouth will be happy. Get more at TrouttownTavern.com. Trouttown for up north flavor.
Welcome back to the Northern Michigan Scoreboard Show, presented by the Bill Marsh Auto Group on Up North Sports Radio. Rich Calkins and Jerry Coyne in studio with you this morning. And joining us live for the first time all year, we're used to hearing the recorded voice of Doug Ballman, but we have him live. Doug Ballman of the Traverse City West Titans. Doug, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You're here with your long-lost buddy, Coach. What are you going to do without Rich all summer long?
We're gonna have to get those two to start doing baseball games or something. They definitely have become the voice of the Titans, and the parents, grandparents, family members all comment on how nice it is to have him and JJ there.
Yeah, well, thanks, Coach. That was really nice, but also the compliments are reciprocated back towards you as you led the Titans this year to a 19-6 record, got into the regionals, ran into a tough Cadillac team, but you guys set the record for the most wins in Titan history in boys basketball.
For the regular season, we did. I was one of the coaches found out that one of the very early teams there, when West first opened, ended up winning 20 games for the entirety of the season. I think maybe they won 17 in the regular season and then won 3 in districts or whatever. So we were one short of the all-time record, but nonetheless set the regular season record there, and just a great group of young men for sure to set that.
Coach, it was a tremendously gutsy performance that you guys put up in Gaylord against the Vikings. I'm not going to kid you. I thought the officiating was absolutely terrible and one-sided, and I know that you were irritated about it. The only thing I was surprised is that neither you or Benzenberg got teed up. And but I know that doesn't give you any solace because you still go home with a loss.
Right, and ultimately at the end of the day, there were other things we could have done. It definitely did play into our ability to play defense the way we wanted to, be a little bit more physical. But yeah, 21 free throws to 4 free throws, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
When it comes down to certain aspects of the game and how you want to play it. But, Coach Bensberg does a phenomenal job there at Cadillac and did a nice job. I know they lost there on Thursday against Muskegon, but again, slowing the tempo down, having that team that works well with each other and can throw a couple different looks at you. That was their success this year. I thought we had a couple opportunities in that game on Tuesday, missed some open shots, kind of had some crucial turnovers when we needed to, but overall I was real happy with the performance the boys put in.
You mean Lincoln Lockhart?
Yeah.
What a
performance!
I mean, that's the best performance I've seen from an individual player in the games that I've watched this year. I mean, he outdueled Charlie Howell, and it's got to be just a fantastic joy to know that he's coming back in the building next year.
Yes, and we've known Lincoln's had that ability even last year as a sophomore in a couple of those games towards the end of the season when he kind of started to come on. We knew they were really going to try to take Ben Hobbers out of the game, from a defensive standpoint, which they did. And Lincoln just stepped up and came in big for us, kept us in it. Caden Stoops had a big game for us. Mason Zimmerman was a little off that night. He was dealing with a shoulder injury there and kind of limited his mobility to shoot confidently. So there are little things like that we try to work around. Obviously, Winslow Robinson got into some foul trouble, but was real happy with the way he defended. I think Howell ended up with 28, but of those, 10 to 12 were all free throws. Of their 21, he shot, more than half of their free throws. And so when, you can kind of make him go to the line and win from there, which he did, but just says a lot about Winslow's defense as well.
And Coach, real quick, I wanted to point out, too, not only did the varsity team have a lot of success, but also the entire program had a lot of success at JV, freshmen, all of that.
We call that the Chenard effect. Scott Chenard there at the JV has had a phenomenal couple years at West. When I came in, was real happy to have him stay on board, and then his son Brendan took over the freshman program this year under the tutelage of his dad. The last couple years as a JV assistant. So, I thought Brendan did a real nice job with the freshmen. They ended up 19-2, and then obviously Scott and the JV went 22-0. And just a lot of fun watching those kids grow and knowing that they're going to be part of that program for me on the varsity next year.
Yeah, Coach, and some of those sophomores that are coming up that got a little bit of varsity time this year, Blake Lefebvre, I'm really intrigued by this Carter Grubb kid. As watching his athleticism, Coach, he's got a little bit of height to him. He just has got to get in the weight room and get stronger. But I really like the returning core.
Yes, and Carter's going to be a great asset for us, as he progresses, working through our offense, getting in the weight room, and just getting some reps down low in the post. I think he'll be a big asset for us down there next year. Then, of course, you have Blake Lefebvre, who's an incredible ball handler, and will alleviate some of the pressure for Winslow Robinson. And maybe able to put Winslow out into that wing spot and make him a set shooter, similar to what we had Quentin doing this year. Because Winslow's just a phenomenal shooter when he gets his feet set and has that time. So we're really, really excited about that. Obviously, the strength and athleticism of Drew Esper. We've got a smaller version of Drew Esper and Graham Hetherington coming up as well. Another knockdown shooter and Jake Banish. So there's just a lot of good things coming up from that JV program that will help us in the future for sure.
Coach, I want to allow you to take a minute to talk about your outgoing class, a class that really grew with you when we first met you and you were getting back into the program, who took all the instructions and the discipline and the thoughts that you wanted to do and really pretty much cashed it in style this year.
I'd always joked with Jason Carmine, the athletic director, when I took over the girls program before, and then when I took over the boys, I said, if you can give me 3 years before you give me the boot, I think I can make things kind of happen in 3 years. So we found that success with the girls program. After my third year there, same thing, starting with that sophomores, and that sophomore group of girls came through. We ended up going to the district finals, won the most games they'd won in 5 years combined. Just a lot of good successes with the program moving up. And so when I took over the boys, I told Jason the same thing. We had early success with the first 2 seasons, but kind of really that third season, having the sophomores come together, understanding the process, was their success this year. And we went to Marquette and won, obviously, the district title and just set some of the school standards moving forward. And that's all because of those seniors, especially Ben Hobbers and Quentin Gillespie, who've been on varsity for 3 years.
Yep.
Gunnar Canty and Wally, who had limited minutes last year, really showed up and gave us big minutes at times throughout the year. And then a real nice addition to us at times in games, mostly in practice, was Lucas Anglin, just a phenomenal young man, and really gave us a lot this year, his senior year.
Well, I know that Rich and JJ can't wait to get to the buffet line tomorrow.
I was going to mention that.
You're going to see those kids, your juniors are going to learn how to box out when they see Calkins get in there first.
But we'll let our special guests get front of the line, so they don't have to worry about that. We let the players go last. They can, for all of the aspects that the parents give, the rides, the team meals, the encouragement. We'll definitely have the parents go first and let the boys wait it out this time.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great idea, Coach. But I hope there's plenty of it because, JJ and I, we do like the groceries for sure. But
yes, no,
they've been working.
The venue does a very nice job with that, and that's why we went back this year from last year. So good spread for us, great venue, and just a great time to get together one last time as a full group and celebrate the success of this Titan basketball program.
Trust me, Coach, I don't pay them very much. They are going to get their fill tomorrow.
Have them bring some Tupperware to put leftovers in.
Yeah, exactly. Great idea, Coach. Well, Doug Ballman, it was a great season. We had a blast, and can't wait till the tomorrow at the banquet. But thanks for everything you've done for Titan basketball. It's been a blast, and looking forward to next year already.
My pleasure. I've been surrounded by great people to help me along the way, and shout out to my coaching staff there: Jason Morrow, Adam Root, from the varsity aspect, Nandi Lacusa came in this year, having been at Bowling Green with the women's program for a couple years, and was just a phenomenal asset with individual workouts and bringing in some of his new understanding of basketball to my old style. And then obviously Scott Chenard and Ty Lurvey at the JV level, and Brendan Chenard and Brett Clark at the freshman level. Just a great group of guys that I get to work with and call brothers in basketball, which is great.
All right. Well, thanks, Coach. Doug, we'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good. Thanks, gentlemen.
All right. Yep. Doug Ballman of the Traverse City West Titans there. Got the team all the way to the regionals this year, and kind of a heartbreaking loss against Cadillac.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it goes. It's easy to say, but it's so true. Only one team is going to walk away happy, but, you're going to see a ton of smiling faces at the banquet. Yes. And in a transition period, because it's for the whole program, so the JV kids and the freshman kids will be there. Yeah. And I still have memories of all the basketball banquets that I went to in high school, and one of the cool things, Rich, and we don't have a lot of time, is when you're in that environment as a high school junior or senior, it doesn't matter, and parents are like deferring to you and giving you the respect.
Right.
Because they value what you did for the program and everything else. It's the first kind of sign that you see, like, well, it's nice to be treated like an adult.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And,
the respect factor, the everything about that is just absolutely amazing for sure. So, all right. We'll be back with Bruce Coltman to talk a few minutes about McBain basketball. You're listening to the Northern Michigan Scoreboard Show, presented by the Bill Marsh Auto Group on Up North Sports Radio.
Hi, this is Bill Marsh Jr. Introducing the new eMarsh custom purchase experience at BillMarsh.com. eMarsh makes car buying fast and easy. Choose your vehicle and options, get an accurate trade-in value, calculate your monthly payment choices, and apply for credit. You can even schedule at-home or at-work test drives and deliveries. Start your eMarsh experience at BillMarsh.com. eMarsh. Welcome to easy. And thank you.
Leonard Skinner. CC Top. Friday, August 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino. The Sharp Dressed Simple Man Tour. Leonard Skinner and CC Top. Tickets start at $38 and are on sale now at the box office and etix.com. Part of the Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series. Leonard Skinner and CC Top. Friday, August 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
The Traverse City Record Eagles Simply the Best 2024 Reader's Choice Contest is now open. Nominate your favorite businesses, organizations, and professionals in Northern Michigan to earn them well-deserved recognition as Simply the Best. You can nominate once daily in each category now through Friday, May 10th. Our 2023 Simply the Best broke records with more than 14,500 nominations and more than 26,000 votes. Support your favorites and help them stand out above the rest. Nominate at record-eagle.com/simplythebest.
Welcome back to the Northern Michigan Scoreboard Show, presented by the Bill Marsh Auto Group on Up North Sports Radio. Rich Calkins and Jerry Coyne in studio with you. And joining us now, head coach of the winning McBain Ramblers, Bruce Coltman. Coach, congratulations on another regional championship as you beat Sanford Meridian 62-51.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to moving on here.
Yeah, Coach. This Menominee team has got a pretty good heritage going in their last few classes. What do you know about them?
They're going to pick us up 90 feet. They're going to make it an up and down game if they can. They're real aggressive. Size-wise, we're going to match up okay. They maybe go a little deeper than we are, but like I said, they're going to try to turn it into a run and gun, and they're going to press us pretty hard. So we just got to control the tempo and handle the pressure.
And, Coach, that's a game that's going to be played next Tuesday night, and that's at Gaylord, correct?
Yeah, at 5 o'clock.
At 5, okay. So a 5 o'clock game. Menominee, of course, just a few years ago, they've had some success. They made it to the semis or to the finals 3 years ago. So they've got a little bit of history themselves.
Yeah, I usually when I get done, I don't follow it that close, but I do know they made a pass, got down there. I'm sure a couple of these guys are still around from that. Maybe weren't key components at that time, but I'm sure they understand what it takes, and they know the wars. And I've been watching some games of them playing in the UP, and boy, they let them play up there.
They do.
Basketball, so.
Yeah.
Well, we like to play physical, but boy, oh boy, 90 feet of that can wear you out. So.
Well, I guess it's a good thing you got a chance to play that Hamtramck team. It sounds like their styles might be a little bit comparable.
Yeah. We weren't ready for it then. No excuses. We didn't show up to play that day. But since then, I feel like we've been trending in the right direction. The guys are working hard. They're very focused, locked in, and so we're looking forward to the challenge.
Yeah. And, Bruce, how many regional championships does that make it for you at McBain, Coach?
I believe this is 8 with the boys. So.
That's pretty substantial.
That's impressive,
yeah,
Coach.
That's very good.
Yeah, but you got to remember this is 30 years too.
Yeah, but still, that's pretty darn good.
That'll keep you employed for a while, Coach.
Yeah, sure will. Too much of my wife's chagrin there. Yeah.
It's funny, Coach.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned that you didn't play your best game against Hamtramck, and that was the first time that I saw you guys play. And I was talking to Coach Benzenberg at the time, and he goes, "Oh, this is the worst they've ever played." So they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. So, it's good you move on and learn what. Hopefully, it sounded like you learned a lot from that game, and your players have stepped up since then.
Yeah, I appreciate that coming from him. We were kind of I sensed it a little bit before that. We were kind of in a little slide there. I think every team goes through that. It's a long season.
Sure.
I was just thinking here the other day, we played 26 games.
Yep.
And if you go all the way, that's 29 games. And you start clear back in November, and here you are in the middle of March almost. So everybody hits a wall at one time, and I think it just depends on how you come out of that wall. And I think the fortunate thing for us is, Ben Rodenbaugh leads us. He's been up here for 3 years now, and fortunate for me, he's only a junior, so we still have one more year. And Evan Haverkamp has been up here, and he's been through these wars. So they're two great leaders, and then we have some really good hard-playing guys around them. So.
Yeah. Now, Coach, you mentioned your 30 years. You're not going to be like Roy Johnson over at Beaverton and put in 50 years, eh?
No, hats off to him. That's tremendous. I've had the opportunity to coach against him, 4 or 5 times. And what a gentleman and what a gracious person. I mean, in fact, we just played against them here in 2021 in a regional final, and it runs through their whole school. Their fans are great. Multiple fans of theirs came up and congratulated us, even though we beat them. Roy's
Roy's a model for everybody.
Yeah, he is. Well, Bruce, we're short on time, but we appreciate your patience. Best of luck next week against Menominee, and I just might have to head up to check that game out. Best of luck.
All right. Well, I'm hoping we can change this MO a little bit. You went to a game a few years ago. We didn't do too well. You told me you were going to Hamtramck. I didn't do too well, so I'm hoping we change this trend a little bit.
For the good of the team, Coach, then maybe I'll stream it on the computer.
All right.
Thanks, Coach. Hopefully we have you on next week, our last show of the year. So we appreciate that.
All right.
Thanks,
All right,
Bruce.
thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
All
Bye.
right, Bruce Coltman of the McBain Ramblers. They won state championships. Just a great program.
All right, that's going to do us for this edition of the Bill Marsh High School Scoreboard Show. Thanks for joining us. We'll have our last show next week. Back to CBS Sports. Don't forget, the Red Wings are on tonight against the world champion Golden Knights at 10 o'clock.
The weather is brought to you by JP Heating of Northern Michigan. Heating, cooling, plumbing, excellent service, and affordable financing. They do it all and have it.
Round 2 with Grant Paulson and Alex Gold, presented by BetMGM.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll get to our best bets, of course, before we let you go later on in the show. A little college basketball, looking ahead to some of these draft futures, and that's where we continue. Before we get to free agency, we were talking a lot about what's going to happen at number 2 and a little bit about Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and, of course, J.J. McCarthy. How about a little bit further down the board, or what we think will be further down the board based on the odds market and where the narratives have been at this point in time? Third overall, fourth overall picks, and even further than that, drafting Bo Nix or Michael Penix, and where the odds stand for Bo Nix, who you brought him up earlier in the show. We were discussing, the Vikings situation. Could they bring in somebody like him and while also still acquiring a veteran? So Bo Nix, the favorite team to land him, plus 340 is the Broncos. Raiders sitting at 5.5 to 1. Vikings also with the same odds, 5.5 to 1. Then you get to the Patriots, 6.5. Saints, 7.5. Rams, 9 to 1. Bo Nix is older, right? He's not Brandon Weeden by any means, but he's an older quarterback, and he's going to go, a lot of people believe, anywhere from, pick 15 or later, 17 or later, if we're being generous. Out of those teams, how do you view Bo Nix? And is that a team that's going to get a quarterback that's going to start right away? Or do you think he's out of the group, the guy that's going to have to sit for a year? Again, his age is a concern to me if that's happening.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that it depends where he goes. If he gets overdrafted, and the path to that to me would be that McCarthy goes in the top 5. If you have 4 quarterbacks gone in the top 5, and I could see, as I said earlier, a path to Caleb Williams 1-1 to Chicago, Daniels or May 2 to Washington, the other of those 2 guys 3 to New England. And then at 4, Arizona trades back. Monty Ossenford, the GM there, loves maneuvering. We saw it in the draft last year. They were all over the board. So now they come way back 8, 9 spots, whatever. And one of those teams outside the top 10 that wants a quarterback, Minnesota at 11, Denver at 12, Vegas at 13 comes up to 4 and takes McCarthy. Well, then I think there's a really good chance that Bo Nix or Penix, one of the 2 of them, goes in the couple of picks where those other 2 teams are just outside of the top 10. Now, if McCarthy goes a little later, whether that's 8, 10, 11, 12, something like that, then I think it pushes Nix down the board. If you take him in the top 12, I think he probably starts pretty early into the year. Maybe not on opening day in week 1, but maybe it's week 4, 5, 6, something like that. I think what you'll see is the team that brings him in and Penix in handcuffs those guys to a veteran, not probably the top of the tier, certainly not a Cousins or a Mayfield that you're paying good money to. But I think Russell Wilson, Jacoby Brissett, Ryan Tannehill, somebody like that among this free agent tier. And then that guy can come in and start for you for a few weeks. If they play well, you let it rip and they keep playing. And if not, you go to the kid. But if I had to give you a team right now for Bo Nix, I guess I would say, the Broncos at plus 340, which seems to be kind of the prevailing wisdom right now. Vikings at plus 550 are the two teams that really appeal to me. Then it opens wide up if you go deeper down the board, obviously. The Saints, I think, when they can get out of Derek Carr, you could stash them for a year. The Giants, because they're a year out of getting out of the Daniel Jones business, I think makes sense. You got to throw the Seahawks in the conversation at 20-1 because they basically have the 1-year commitment now to Geno. The Steelers, if they don't go get Russell Wilson, would be really appealing because they're ready potentially to get out of the Kenny Pickett business. So I think he's more in line with the, hey, this guy doesn't have to play this year teams. And
yes,
I think it just depends on where he gets taken off the board as to whether or not he's playing in October and September.
What about the Falcons? Because we can talk about Justin Fields in a second, but the Falcons are at 12-1. And if they trade for Justin Fields, then of course they're not drafting Bo Nix or Michael Penix. But let's say they sign Kirk Cousins and it's a 2-year deal or something like that. The age thing I still keep going back to with Bo Nix, which is why just sitting is hard for me to fathom any team doing that necessarily for more than a half a season. And so that's where the Falcons are 12-1 for a reason, because he's going to for sure be sitting at least a year if they were to bring in Cousins and they drafted Bo Nix. Is that an organization that is drafting a player that's not going to impact where they're at currently, when if you're going to sign Kirk Cousins, you're in it for like a 1 or 2 year run in a weak division. So why wouldn't you go draft a player that can help you immediately? Like, that's the argument against the Falcons, but that's also why they're 12-1. And so it's kind of an interesting team for me, depending on how they view free agency and if they end up landing Kirk Cousins. Because we've all said, all right, they're going to trade for Fields or land Cousins. Has anybody thought of the scenario where the Falcons don't get either? Like, I know it sounds crazy. Is there a scenario where they don't? I think there is, where they end up not getting either.
Yeah, there's definitely a scenario. And if that happens, now they're very much active in the trade-up market to go into the top 5 and either get Mayer Daniels or probably be the last team in that top 5 and get McCarthy or something like that. We'll obviously know that within the next 2 weeks, probably, week and a half. Maybe even by this time next week, you and I will have a pretty good beat on who the Falcons quarterback is. But I think it's redundant and unnecessary if you're paying Cousins a bunch of money to then also draft his replacement already. That, to me, doesn't make sense. If you're going and getting Cousins, then you're trying to win that division this year. So add a player at the top of the draft board, and with all of your early picks, that help Kirk Cousins and help Raheem Morris. They need an edge. Maybe you could take an edge in the top 10. They need a defense that got better last year, needs a couple playmakers. I still think everyone talks about their offense like, they're this great destination. I don't really see it that way. London is fine. I think Pitts, who's been a disappointment since year 1, is solid. Like, they don't have great weapons. Hopefully they can use Bijan Robinson better and he turns into a star. But they need speed. So I'd like to see them go at a weapon at tight end in the draft and maybe in the second round, like Jatavion Sanders out of Texas, or a burner X-type wide receiver opposite London. London, to me, screams Z. He's a wide receiver 2 with the in-breaking kind of dig routes and 75 catches for 1,000 yards or something. They need an explosive X receiver who can run vertical routes. So I don't want to say a waste of a pick, but if you're getting into the Kirk Cousins business, it's because you think you can win. So try to win. Don't layer behind Cousins and take away from your chance. The NFC South's open. You might, the moment Cousins signs, you probably have the best quarterback in the division. So, well, not probably.
They're the favorite easily.
Yeah. So
they're the heavy favorite to win that division. Yeah, if they acquire Cousins, they're the heavy favorite to win the South, and I think they absolutely would if that actually happens. We mentioned Justin Fields kind of in passing there because he is going to possibly change everything for not only free agency, but for how these quarterbacks are going to go. Where do you stand now? I know you and I have both kind of spoken about Fields, and we both believe the Bears should trade Justin Fields. There's been some more noise this week. Ryan Leaf was on the Dan Patrick show, had some comments saying that the Bears, they should draft Caleb Williams, but they should sit him a year. And that, to me, is foolish at this point in time. I also don't think it's realistic in 2024 to have a quarterback that you draft that high sit behind a quarterback. It's not as if the Bears were a 12-win team a year ago. Everybody, Grant, wants to bring up, well, Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith for a full season. Yeah, way different circumstance, man. Like, Alex Smith was an established quarterback, and they had won 12 games the season before. That's not what we're talking about here with sitting Caleb Williams behind Justin Fields. Not to mention, I just think that would just be the most awkward situation for everybody involved.
Well, it's a non-starter. I mean, frankly, it makes zero sense. It's not an option. So I would just rule that out outright based on the Fields element of kind of already a divisive conversation in the fan base, right? But in general, you cannot draft a quarterback one in this era and sit that guy. It sounds cute. That is a Madden simulation that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
In this utopian world, that might be awesome, and there is some evidence to the guys sitting and waiting and that helping them. But you pay them an amount of money, and there is an amount of hype and fanfare that comes that doesn't allow for it. Every incompletion, an interception for your incumbent starting quarterback, whoever that is, the chants get louder and louder and louder. The noise in the locker room becomes a distraction. The fans, the media, it just doesn't work. So we could talk about it till we're blue in the face. It's not a thing. Teams for years have tried to say when they take a guy 2, 3, 4. I remember the Jaguars when they took Blake Bortles out of UCF. I think he was 3rd overall, saying something like they're going to sit him for a year. Like, we're committed to this. And I think he made it a month. I mean, it just doesn't work. It's not reality. But specific to the Bears situation, Fields is not going to be there, obviously. I'm not surprised, by the way, that the market is not what you keep hearing Schefter and others say the market isn't what Fields or the Bears were hoping for. Yeah, I mean, the tape's not great.
Everybody knows you're trading him. Everybody knows you're trading him. That's also part of the problem.
Yeah. And you essentially already said that you're going to move on from him and he won't be on your team. So, yeah, if everyone knows you're trading him or you're going to cut him if you can't trade him, then you're going to get less for him. But on top of that, I mean, it takes – the problem is I and everybody else would get in on Justin Fields, even though he's gotten better and he's now at a point where he might be league average, if you could pay him nothing for the next few years. If it was year one of a rookie deal, that's not what we're talking about. He's working toward the expiration of a rookie deal and a giant payday for a guy 3 years in who hasn't proven that he's going to be an above-average starting quarterback in the NFL or be able to win